Don't stop.
Okay, so let's get into something that is not good. So now we have to get serious because there's actually a terrible, terrible story. So it turns out that one of Trump's top aides, a guy named Rob Porter. Nobody's ever heard of Rob Porter. He's just one of these guys who hangs around the president. I know some folks in the White House, they say that Rob Porter was indeed very close to the president. Obviously, that is true. He's in half of the pictures with the president. And apparently, Rob Porter is not good to his ladies. So his first ex-wife, he has, I guess, 2 ex-wives is the idea. I don't know what it is about Trump and the people who surround him or who are his fans, but there are a lot of thrice married people, or at least twice married people, twice divorced people who surround President Trump. In any case, this one is actually not on Trump. Rob Porter was an aide to General John Kelly. He's seen as sort of his right hand, helping to ensure that the wrong people don't get into the Oval Office to talk to the President of the United States. Well, apparently, his first ex-wife is accused Rob Porter of spousal abuse, and there is a picture of this. Apparently, his first ex-wife is her name is Colby Holderness, and she spoke on the record to DailyMail.com about their 5-year marriage. Apparently, they met at their Mormon church in 2000 while they were in college. She says that he was never physically abusive until our honeymoon, and that floored me. And then she said, quote, he would throw me down on the bed, put his full body weight on top of me, then grind a knee or elbow into my body, expressing rage. She says the violence escalated to the point where Porter was choking her, quote, it was not hard enough for me to pass out, but it was scary, humiliating, and dehumanizing. And here is a picture that she posted of herself. Apparently, he took the picture. He says, I took the picture. She says, right, I guilted him into taking the picture. So that is a shiner right there. That is not good stuff. Just horrifying. And then there is Jennifer Willoughby. Jennifer Willoughby is Porter's second ex-wife who shared the story of her abusive marriage with DailyMail.com. I believe we actually have video of her talking about her abusive marriage to Rob Porter, this top Trump aide.
I did know that my marriage was bad. I knew that it wasn't healthy, that the fights and the verbal and emotional abuse that I was enduring was not quote unquote normal. But I don't think that I had yet put myself in the category of someone whose husband laid hands on her until that moment. Rob and I were married in November of 2009. It was a very quick courtship and engagement. Within a matter of a couple of weeks after being married, I was aware of his temper. Okay, and his temper apparently escalated all the way up to apparently dragging her wet and naked out of the shower and verbally abusing her, calling her an effing bee. The White House originally gave Porter its full support. By the way, I believe there's an ex-girlfriend now who's come out and also accused him of this sort of activity, which is just wonderful. The White House originally came out and defended Rob Porter. They said that they didn't see anything, they didn't see anything that was worthy of firing him over. And then the picture came out of the black eye, and suddenly they have shifted their tune. So Porter said in his original statement, quote, these outrageous allegations are simply false. I took the photos given to the media nearly 15 years ago, and the reality behind them is nowhere close to what is being described. I'd like to hear, was she hit in the face by a door? Did she do that with makeup? Like, what happened? I've been transparent and truthful about these vile claims, but I will not further engage publicly with a coordinated smear campaign. My commitment to public service speaks for itself. I've always put duty to country first and treated others with respect. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to have served in the Trump administration and will seek to ensure a smooth transition when I leave the White House. Apparently, originally, the answer from John Kelly was that he came to the defense, right? Originally, John Kelly's statement was that he stood by Porter. I'm trying to find the actual text. So let's see. Apparently, Kelly's original statement stated, quote, that Rob Porter is a man of true integrity and honor, and I can't say enough good things about him. He is a friend, a confidant, and a trusted professional. I am proud to serve alongside him. That's the quote that was circulating online as of last night before Colby Holderness's black eye came out. Then, of course, they shifted tune, and they decided that things had changed. The question is, what did they know and when did they know it over at the White House? Did they know all along this guy was an accused spousal abuser? He didn't have his FBI clearance, apparently, because of all of these allegations. Apparently, the first ex-wife called up the White House counsel, Don McGahn. That's what CNN was reporting, and actually told Don McGahn about this. It was never relayed to the President of the United States. CNN reported last night, quote, senior aides to President Donald Trump knew for months about allegations of domestic abuse levied against top White House staffer Rob Porter by his ex-wives. Even as Porter's stock in the West Wing continued to rise,
multiple sources told CNN on Wednesday. Porter denied the allegations but resigned on Wednesday. A scramble ensued inside the West Wing to defend him when the claims became public this week. That effort continued even after his resignation. According to sources, this is CNN sources, so you have to take all that with a grain of salt, obviously. They're not named. It says senior White House officials were aware for months of the allegations made against Trump's staff secretary. According to two sources, Trump himself first learned of the allegations this week, so it really wasn't Trump. He was upset when shown reports of the abuse. His daughter Ivanka was also deeply disturbed by the allegations, particularly the photographs. So apparently by early fall, it was widely known among top Trump aides, including Chief of Staff John Kelly, both that Porter was facing troubles in obtaining FBI clearance and that his ex-wives claimed he had abused them. So that's a pretty significant allegation that months ago, Kelly knew what was going on here, and he didn't do anything. Instead, Kelly and others oversaw an elevation in Porter's standing. That's a fireable offense, okay? If John Kelly knew that the guy who's getting closer and closer to the president of the United States was in fact an alleged spousal abuser who could not obtain FBI clearance, right? If that's the case, then there's not only is there no excuse for it, but Kelly needs to go, right? If Kelly knew that there was a guy who had 3 separate allegations of abuse against him and a restraining order taken out against him, and also I think that the police had slapped some sort of legal bar on him. In any case, if Kelly knew all of that and he let him get close to Trump, that's a dereliction of duty to protect his boss. As Allah Pundit says, Kelly and the White House counsel Don McGahn left Trump vulnerable by refusing to disarm the grenade. The Times of London, the New York Times, claims that Kelly was duped by Porter, but that excuse really only goes so far. It says 2 White House officials who asked not to be identified because they were not authorized to speak about the internal deliberations insisted that Mr. Porter had misled Mr. Kelly and several other aides about the severity of the allegations. He had portrayed the women as making up stories to cause trouble, and few, if any, aides in the White House considered conducting their own investigations to discover what might have taken place. In fact, it turns out that Rob Porter was apparently dating Hope Hicks, who's another top aide to the president. Hope Hicks has terrible taste in men, apparently. She also supposedly dated Corey Lewandowski, a married man, on the campaign trail. Corey Lewandowski, famous for grabbing Michelle Fields and then lying about it. So she has really top-notch taste in men, does Hope Hicks. She may be a nice gal, but she really needs to examine her choices in life better if all of this is true about Rob Porter. So, the rumor is that Kelly is going to pay for it. I doubt that Kelly is going to pay for it. More likely that they just claim that he didn't know in the first place that all of this was going on. But Sarah Huckabee Sanders essentially dodged the question. So Sarah Huckabee Sanders was asked about this, and she says that Porter made the decision to leave.
Look, I think that was a personal decision that Rob made, and one that he was not pressured to do, but one that he made on his own. So
he is out at the White House, but I don't think this blowback is going to end anytime soon, and there will be serious questions asked about who knew what, when, and why. And there is going to be an allegation that's made about the White House. And the allegation that's made about the White House is that they go easy on people who are accused of abusing women, because if they don't go easy on those people, then it might redound on Trump. It might bounce back on Trump. There might be people who say, well, you're so hard on Rob Porter. Why aren't you harder on President Trump? There were allegations made in his divorce proceedings by Ivana Trump that he actually raped her. That was in the divorce proceeding way back in the 1980s. So why is it that Trump is treated by a different standard than he treats his own aides? That's where the media is going to go next with this. That said, there's no excuse for anybody covering up this sort of stuff if they knew about it. And it's again, dereliction of duty if John Kelly knew about it and did nothing because he was friendly with Rob Porter. So his final statement here, he says, I stand by my previous comments on the Rob Porter that I have come to know since becoming chief of staff. I believe every individual deserves the right to defend their reputation. I accepted his resignation earlier today and will ensure a swift and orderly transition. He says, I was shocked by the new allegations released against Rob Porter. There's no place for domestic violence in our society, but I'm wondering exactly how that squares with I believe Rob Porter on virtually everything. Okay, there's no such thing as a good bipartisan budget deal. They're all garbage. Whenever there's a bipartisan budget deal, it means they're going to blow out the budget, because the truth is that what really drives our national debt and our national deficit are the entitlements. It is not military spending. It is not the ancillary spending. It is not foreign aid, right? There's a lot of waste and fraud and abuse in the budget, but when Trump said that he was going to cut the government down to size by whittling away at that, that's nonsense. The only way that you're actually going to cut the government down to size is to do something that no one wants to do. Now, look, it is politically unpalatable to talk seriously about what needs to happen with the American budget. The American budget breaks down heavily on the side of entitlement programs, right? Entitlement programs generate an enormous amount of the American budget every single year. Military spending only accounts for approximately 20% of the American budget. So the vast majority of the American budget every year is taken up instead by the entitlement programs that all of these people supposedly rely upon. Now, there's discretionary spending, right? Discretionary spending, a lot of that is defense and homeland security. So by 2015 standards, for example, the discretionary spending for defense and homeland security was 54% of discretionary spending, but that's not where the vast majority of the budget goes. If you look at the share of all spending, which is what we actually need to do, right? That's what we actually need to look at. 16% of all spending is military spending by 2015 standards. That'll probably rise to closer to 20% this year. The Health and Human Services Department, which means Medicare, right, that is 28% of all discretionary and mandatory spending. 25% of all discretionary and mandatory spending is Social Security. That means that nearly 60%, right, that's 53% of all spending in the budget is just from Medicare and Social Security. And that doesn't count welfare programs, food and agriculture, which is really the food stamp program. That's 4% of the budget. Education is another 3% of the budget. State Department foreign aid is 2% of the budget. But the two biggest numbers on that list are not military. They are Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. That's where all the money is going. And nobody wants to touch that stuff. Paul Ryan wants to touch that stuff. Trump does not want to touch that stuff. Mitch McConnell doesn't want to touch that stuff. Republicans in Congress don't want to touch that stuff. They're afraid there will be blowback. So instead, they've come up with just another budget compromise that really amounts to, we agree to spend a crap load of money. Do you agree to spend a crap load of money? Sure, let's all agree to spend a crap load of money.